Hey folks, it's Tommy Frugal Prepper. It's about 7 o'clock. I'm just out here checking out the garden and looking it over. And probably getting ready to cut the grass tonight if it doesn't rain when I get home from work. The I just want to talk a little bit about like how things are going in this world. I am so glad I own my house free and clear. I own my cars free and clear. I know how to fix things when they break. I know how to grow food. I know how to can food. I know how to put food back. I'm so grateful that I have a house with a yard that's big enough to hold a garden and I don't rent some expensive $1,200 a month apartment somewhere. Now, I do have a little bit of debt right now. I have enough cash to pay off that debt if I needed to, but my hospital bills from my stroke, my co-pays on that came to around $5,000. So I put that on a 16-month no interest credit card and then just set the payments up so that I'll have it paid off in about 14 months. So I have to put about 400 and about 450, I think, on it every month just to pay that off over time. And I've just cut back my other expenses. I mean, I normally don't spend all the money I make. I save it, but I cut back my expenses. I cut my retirement, my 401k down to the 4% where I was putting in 15%, and I'm just, getting that paid off. And that seemed like a good way to pay the hospital and get them out of my hair and get the collections people to go away, all that stuff, and then just make payments on it. And something else could go wrong. I could lose my job tomorrow and not be able to pay that. It's an unsecured debt. They can't take anything if I don't pay that. So I'm okay. I mean, it would ruin my credit. Like, I really care about credit. I don't use credit. I don't need credit. But I decided to use credit for that. But everything is going pretty well. I'm still, even though things cost twice as much as they used to and everything's going up except for my pay. I mean, my pay, I've gotten a raise, but it's nowhere near the cost of living expenditures. Especially if you're a poor person or not like dirt poor, but just a poorer person, a lower middle class person. You rent an apartment, you have a car payment, and you just don't have the ability to always find ways to save money. You don't have a garage to fix your car, your old cars. You don't have a place to park 3 cars so that you always have an extra one. Those things, those people are really in a hard situation right now. So I find that when the economy goes through these cycles, and I've been through them before, but this is a pretty bad one. You usually, in my field, in IT anyway, you just eventually have to go get a job somewhere else because your current employer, number one, you'll get good at what you do. They don't realize exactly what you do, right? You fix computers. That's all they know. And the current employers never want to pay you as much as it would cost to replace you. So you have to move on to someplace else that lost somebody, and they're willing to pay you more, like a real salary based on today's expenses. And then your old employer will try to replace you at your current salary and be like, oh, that's not going to work. We'll have to pay them more. But that's just the way it works, right? That's the way management and owners of companies and stuff are, right? They don't want to pay it till they have to pay it. I get that, right? But I'm pretty happy with my current job. I mean, it pays okay, and I'm not in it for the high pay, right? I've been in those high paying jobs before, and they are stressful and annoying. And they bug you at 3 in the morning and make you drive in an hour and 45 minutes to go fix some printer. It's just, that's a nightmare. My job now is mostly 8 to 5. It's occasionally something goes down, you have to work late, but very rarely, and it's 5 minutes from my house. So and I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love what I do. So I'm happy, right? And but yeah, this economy is getting pretty bad. You know, so many people told me like, you're crazy for being a prepper. Nothing's ever gonna happen. And I've never been the kind of prepper that thinks we're gonna have an EMP or an asteroid's gonna hit or a super volcano's gonna go off. Those things can happen, right? But I just kind of prepare for everyday life. How do I make my life more secure if I lose my job, if I have a medical emergency and I have to be off work for a few months? How do I make it so that when I'm off with a stroke, instead of worrying about the bills and the car's getting repossessed and getting evicted and everything else, I can just focus on my rehab, use my food storage, my savings, and use all those things for an emergency, which is what that is, and I can focus on my rehab and getting better, right? I don't have to focus on like my whole life falling apart and being homeless while I'm down from a stroke, right? You know, your stroke's just not one of those things you ever think of, but it happens to like 1 million people a year in the United States. So, luckily my stroke seemed like a pretty mild one. I mean, it wasn't mild, but it was a lot milder than some strokes. So, I made pretty much a full recovery from it, and I'm doing things. My blood pressure medicines cause my muscles to be weak and stuff sometimes, but I'm just dealing with that, and I still look at everything I get done in a day. It's way more. I do way more stuff every day than I ever did when I was over 200 pounds heavier and on 300 units of insulin a day, right? So I'm happy. I eat what I eat. I'm mostly meat, but I have chicken, I have fish, I have shrimp, I have eggs, I have bacon, I have beef. I eat all kinds of meat, but mostly beef. And the second most common thing would be chicken thighs. And then I eat some vegetables. I grow the vegetables that I eat mostly. I have some peppers and some onions with some chili powder, some cumin, and a little cayenne pepper, all fried up in bacon grease with some chuck roast chunks. It's delicious. It's delicious. But it's mostly beef and a few peppers and a few onions. Spaghetti squash, I eat that quite often. And I'm getting to where I kind of eat it more. It just does not affect me. It doesn't seem to affect my ketosis. It doesn't seem bad in any way. So I'm growing lots of spaghetti squash this year. Tomatoes that I grow in my own garden and can preserve from don't really affect me. The ones you buy off the shelf at the store seem to cause me to be a little inflamed and get swollen. So I avoid store-bought tomatoes. Green beans are another thing that I eat, and they don't seem to affect me, and I think they're delicious, so I eat them. But you know, the proper human diet is many things, but it's not seed oil. It's not high fructose corn syrup. It's not monosodium glutamate. It's not all this crap that they put in our foods all the time and feed us, right? They're poisoning us with those foods. We should be eating good, wholesome foods that we make or grow ourselves, and we cook them ourselves, and we eat at home. And we don't, you know, I see people like a big line at Taco Bell, a big line at McDonald's all day long. I don't have to deal with those lines anymore. I don't care. I come home and eat, you know. I rarely eat out anymore. So, just stay strong out there and do what you can do to save money, to grow some food, to put a little container garden in your window if you live in an apartment or something, just to help supplement and do what you can to help get by right now. Anyway, I guess I'm going to go in and get my lunch packed. I'm going to Mansfield today, and I started where I kind of skip breakfast. I have a larger lunch and then a little tiny dinner late at 7:45 to 8:30. I'll eat a dinner, and usually once I get done working at night, I'll come in and eat, and then I go to bed. That seems to really be working for me. When I eat a big lunch, I'm not hungry in the mornings. I'm still digesting a little dinner. I'm not really hungry. I get hungry for a late lunch around 1 or 2 o'clock, and then I'm not hungry when I get home from work. I keep going. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. This is Tom, your Frugal Prepper.